advice, the bits of advice that I've got. So I've got a PowerPoint presentation. Now, I normally, when I talk to Rotary groups, I normally talk for about 40 minutes. So I've cut it right down. But I'm going to, I've got a lot of stuff to go through with you. So I put it all on there. You're very welcome to have the PowerPoint afterwards. And you're also very welcome to ask me as many questions as you like. I love getting questions. And you probably won't get it unless you ask me about it. So that's great. And if you want to contact me afterwards, because you've got more questions you've thought about, that's also okay. So I'll be able to send you, and Liz will be able to give you all my contact details, and so you can talk to me. So Anne-Marie, what is the best thing for me to do? Is should I share my screen, or do you want to share the one I sent you?
You share your screen if that's possible. Just like
okay.
this.
Should be, yeah. Screen.
There we go, it's coming up.
Okay, now I'm gonna need to skip off here. All right. Okay, so everybody see that okay?
Yes.
Yep, all okay? All right.
Yeah, good.
So I'm just going to talk to you about stay young, stay sane, use your brain. And it's a particular interest of mine because I had quite a lot of personal experience of this some years ago. And my particular interest in this is because in 2007, I discovered I had a brain tumor. And up until that time, I'd been a busy executive working for corporates, and then I'd set my own business up. I'd done various things, and suddenly my life came to a complete halt. And I realized I had this big hole in my brain after I had an operation. So that slide you can see there, that actually is a real scan of my brain, which was taken in 2011 after the operation. And that was the big black bit there is the hole that was in my brain. So you can see that by all accounts, my brain was fairly badly damaged. And I did decide that at that point that I was going to improve my brain, that I needed to build my brain. My brain surgeon didn't give me any help at all. And so what I had to do was do my own work in researching the research effectively. And in the process of that, I did the things that I needed to do to improve my brain. I sort of suspect my brain is a bit better now than it was before. Don't know, can't prove that to you, but certainly worked. So in the process of that, I actually designed a way of helping other people to also work on their brain. Now, in the last 14 years, brain research has been huge. So there's been a lot of improvements since I started doing my work, and my work continues. I continue to improve my brain. So I'm going to talk to you about, that's why I got started on this, but now I'm going to start why build a better brain. I mean, what does it matter if you have a better brain? I think it's really important. It's becoming more and more important as time goes on to be able to improve your brain. Firstly, the need to future-proof for brain damage. Now, any of you in my age will know that as you get older, the chances of having a stroke or having a brain damage from a fall or a brain aneurysm, something like that, it gets more and more as you get older. So the more you actually develop your brain, the less damage you will have. Your brain will build itself so that it can actually work around the damage that you have. The other thing it enables you to do if you build your wiring, if you actually wire your brain and build a stronger brain, is to recover your function after you've had damage. So any of you who've had a stroke or know people who've had brain damage will know that some people recover much faster than others. Now, partly that's to do with wherever the damage was, but it's also a lot to do with how fit, if you like, and strong the brain is. The other one that I'm particularly keen on and feel strongly about is protecting against dementia, because dementia as you get older becomes more and more likely, particularly Alzheimer's, and most people are particularly worried about getting Alzheimer's. So I like to look at how can we protect the brain before you get it. And if you have dementia, how do you mitigate that and do something about it? On the good side, on the positive side, I think it's a really good thing to be as sharp as you possibly can be. I mean, I don't want to drift away with a poor memory and my brain getting slower. I actually would like to be sharp for as long as I can. And that's a good reason to do it. Now the final thing that I feel even more strongly about than the Alzheimer's, I suppose, is really how to use your wisdom to help others. So as you get older, although your brain function naturally declines and your body naturally declines, there are some functions that do improve. And one of them is you have that unique capability to have wisdom to offer to everybody else, particularly to a younger generation. The problem is not everybody develops wisdom. You know, so all old people, all wise people are old, but not all old people are wise. So you do meet a lot of people who are in their 70s, 80s, 90s, who are sitting in an armchair, who really aren't contributing much at all, and they haven't really developed that much wisdom. So I'm very, very keen that all of us who are over 65, over 50, in fact, should be able to develop wisdom. So the consequences of not developing your brain are personal, social, and economic, but they're not inevitable. They are largely cumulative, but there are things you can do to impact that. So one of the reasons I think it's particularly important with dementia is in the next 20 or 30 years, the impact of dementia on society is going to be huge. So we've got an aging population. You will all know about that. People are living longer. The group of baby boomers who are moving through are a bigger cohort, and those are living much, much longer. In fact, there are a lot of people are now living to be 100, which when I was younger, you got, you know, a message from the Queen when you reached 100, but now she's going to get one. So what's increased? What's increased is the dementia levels. So as people get older, there is more likelihood that they will get Alzheimer's. It's one of those key 4 age-related, I hate age-related because it's cumulative really, but you can do things about it. But it is one of the big 4 that is considered to be age-related. So dementia levels increase. The dependency ratio gets worse. The dependency ratio for society is a problem. Now, I'm sure Liz would be able to talk to you far more about that because I'm not an economist, but actually the dependency ratio is how many people there are working compared to the people who are not working. So if you look at that ratio, it includes the non-working includes the young people who haven't yet started working, but it also includes those people who are on the pension and are not working. And then in between, there are people who are partly working and so on. So if we have increased dependency ratios, then it actually hits the economy quite badly. And then, of course, the other thing that hits the economy is increasing health costs for chronic illness. And although chronic illness is not only correlated with age, it is correlated with age, and it's also correlated with, you know, with social situation, and it's correlated with other things. But there is a primary correlation there with getting older, because as I say, those key 4 that tend to be a major impact on the health service, and the key 4 are heart, Alzheimer's, diabetes, and cancer. Your chances of getting those all increases the longer you live. So, you know, for you, it's important to do something so that you feel a level of satisfaction. But I do believe we have a responsibility as we get older. I feel a keen responsibility to not land myself on society, particularly on the younger generation. So that's what we're now. One of the problems is there are a lot of myths around aging. And some of the ones that worry me are, firstly, the belief that your brain is limited. I remember when I was younger, you know, people used to say, you know, you've got so many brain cells and they never replace, and you lose something like 1 million or so many million a day, you have to frighten you to death. And so as you get older, you know, you just sort of lose your mind. Well, you know, your brain cells in your brain actually don't, unlike a lot of other cells, don't repair and don't replace. But on the other hand, it's not necessarily the number of brain cells that matters. It's the wiring between the brain cells that makes your brain particularly important. So the brain isn't limited by its number of brain cells. The belief is that brain cells die and cannot grow. Not true. The brains are pre-programmed. That is, if you're going to get dementia, you get dementia. If you're not, you don't. Brains are designed to age. Well, there is a certain amount in that, but there is also the fact that you can do something about it's not that you can't do anything. And there was also, and still is, a belief that once your brain is damaged, it's permanent. You can't do anything about it. Well, I can only tell you that I think I'm the case. I was severely brain damaged. My specialist said, just live with it, learn to live a new life. And when I went back to him after 10 years and said, how do you explain this? He said, well, your brain must have wired around the damage. And he didn't tell me that could happen in the first place. They often don't. It's important to know that there is hope. The situation is not hopeless. It is not the case that dementia is inevitable with age, but that's what a lot of people believe. Now, the other thing which is very damaging is that older people need less sleep. And I come across that since I've just written a book on sleep, because I believe it's one of the most critical things we can do to prevent aging or to help ourselves to get older. I'm coming across this all the time. People saying, yes, but older people don't need as much sleep, do they? Yes, they do. They need more sleep, in fact, than people who are younger. So what we know now, and that's 3 big chunks of what we know now. There's a lot more than this because we're learning all the time, but basically there are 3 key things I think that matter. One is neuroplasticity, which has been around for 20 years. The brain changes and it's self-wiring, which means you can do it. Whatever you do, say, think, if you do it regularly, your brain becomes it. So you're very much a personal construct of your own thinking and doing. Neurogenesis is another thing that belies all that stuff we've just talked about. You do produce new brain cells every day in the right circumstances. It doesn't mean that's the most important thing, because actually that's pretty academic, but you can do that. So neurogenesis is a thing. Now, there's another thing that I didn't used to talk about that's a big thing now, which is autophagy or autophagy, as some people call it, which is this ability for old brain cells to be just cleaned out, particularly during sleep. And so what happens, people think what happens in people's brains where the brains get clogged up with a lot of protein is that the brain hasn't been doing its cleaning, hasn't been cleaning it out. Now there's a lot of evidence, there's very clear evidence that it's in deep sleep that the brain is able to clear out the cells that have been killed through autophagy. Autophagy really means this just cell death, the cell kills itself. And that happens all the time. In your body takes it away. In your brain, it's only in deep sleep, it seems, that the cerebral spinal fluid will clear out the old brain cells. If it doesn't, the implications for Alzheimer's are quite serious. So I've got these 5 things. Now, these things are very, very simple, but they're not easy. Okay. So I do heaps of coaching for people on how to keep their brains young and how to stay young. And it's all very logical and they all agree with it and it's fine. But when coming to do it, it's just difficult because you have to change normal habits. So I call this SPECS, and SPECS is just a mnemonic so that you can easily remember it. Sort of SPECS is quite appropriate for those of us getting older, I think. So the first S is for social interaction. So there's a strange thing with your brain. Nobody really quite understands it, but there are chemicals produced in your brain that support and aid your brain when you're in the presence with the support and the love of other people. Now, you guys know that because you belong to a club. You belong to the Rotary Club. And I talk to lots of people who belong to clubs. But without social interaction, people can die. People can certainly get serious diseases because the brain actually needs a certain level of social interaction. The biggie, and everybody's been talking about it for a while now, is the physical things to do to help your brain. Exercise, clearly, huge amounts of evidence that exercise improves, and it improves everything. It improves depression, because basically exercise enables your brain to be exposed to positive chemicals, and positive chemicals enable the brain to be healthy. Food is another big one, and at the moment it's just really interesting the way there are so many people out there talking about the best way to eat to be healthy, best way to eat to keep your brain healthy, but particularly your body healthy. Healthy body, healthy brain, healthy brain, healthy body, they're connected. So keto is out there, you know, low carb, keto, you know, all these things. And people say to me, oh, I never know what to eat. Very simple. There's some simple things around food. Don't eat too much of it. Don't eat crap. You know, don't go out and eat fast foods, too much sugar, things with toxic chemicals in them or preservatives. But actually, you know, red wine, okay, don't go mad. Wine and alcohol isn't, no alcohol is good for you, but in balance, it may give you those social nice chemicals that help your brain to be better. So there's some things about the food you eat which are really, really important, but you don't have to be a fanatical vegan or on keto all the time in order for your brain to be really healthy. Sleep, I obviously very keen on, because otherwise I wouldn't have written the book. And all of these, you could write a book on all of these, or all sorts of parts of these you could write a book on. But sleep, I cannot tell you how important sleep is. And I believe sleep is one of the most critical things for protecting your brain against Alzheimer's, for helping your brain to recover from damage, for helping you to keep a sharp memory, and all those things we associate with getting older, sleep helps with. But most of us just don't get decent sleep as we get older. And the final thing which I've added in the last few months, but wasn't there originally, is toxins. So a lot of research into Alzheimer's has found that it isn't one problem. Different people have different causes, and there are some basics, but there are differences. People who've been exposed to toxins are far more likely to develop cancer, to develop Alzheimer's, to develop all of the big four. And the toxins you might get exposed to could surprise you. Things like hair dye, things like sprays, things like just toxic environment in a city, toxic UV. If you're out at levels when you're flying and you get x-rays when you go to get x-rays, preservatives in foods, things like that. So toxins build in the body. If your body can't get rid of them, they impact your genes and they can switch on or switch off these four. So protecting yourself from toxins is really important. Now, here's the one that brings in the transcendental meditation, emotional strength and control. And for people as they get older to learn how to have that just emotional control and mental strength is one of the most important things you can do, is really important. A lot of other things like learning about positivity and learning techniques for keeping a positive mind, because optimists have far less problems with these four diseases than do pessimists. Pessimists have hugely more depression, they die younger. I mean, pessimists are really, really useful for helping point out things that could go wrong. And often extreme optimists die because they never see the bad sides of things. But on average, it's damaging to you to not be positive. So the whole thing of emotional strength and control, really, really important to develop. A lot of you would have come across brain training exercises, no doubt. They've been around for a long time. And cognitive strength is also important. That's different to emotional strength. The ability to be flexible, for your mind to be adaptive, for your mind to be able to focus, because focus is something that people struggle with as they get older, but you can practice focus, you can practice memory, you can practice being adaptable and flexible. And these are all things that cognitive exercises enable you to do. So there are a lot of games out there that you can use, but the most important thing is to always try something new, change. Learn something new every year, learn something new every month if you can, and that keeps your brain naturally cognitively strong. The final one is one that I put in because I see it so much in people that I deal with, and it's been very important for me, and that is spiritual, because spiritual meaning or purpose. If you are not religious, I don't mean religious by spiritual, but I mean having a sense of meaning or purpose in your life. And this is also wrapped up with altruism, people who get older and are giving back and are helping others and feel a strong sense of purpose and cause are much more likely to live longer and to be healthier. And so that's a critical thing. That's my 5 points. As I say, they're dead simple, very practical, but they're hard, and there's a lot of detail in the back of all of those. But if I've just got just a few seconds, I just want to finally finish on where is this all going, because at the moment we're in this whole new world of biogerontology, and that's the science of chronological versus biological aging. So interestingly, this has been going on since the 1990s, which is when the serious research started. You will start to see this very soon if you haven't seen it already. I was just out at the chemist getting something for my mother, and on the top of the chemist bench there, the pharmacist bench, you say in New Zealand, there were a pile of books, and there was a DNA test kit for $500 where you could go and get your biological age tested. And then there were a whole lot of these supplements that were sold. According to your results, you could buy these hugely expensive supplements in order to have a younger biological age, because at the moment, what is the big thing is making sure that your biological age is less than your chronological age. So you're 70, where your biological age is 60, so 10 years younger, not 10 years younger by what you look like, but 10 years younger in terms of your mental age, your DNA, if you like. And the biogerontology group is looking at treating aging as the underlying disease, which is looking for a cure for it, because it underlies all those big 4. So instead of looking for a cure for cancer, a cure for Alzheimer's, a cure for heart trouble and so on, you look for a cure for aging, and that automatically solves all those other problems. So the important thing for me is this research is focusing on a healthy lifespan as well as extending life. So it's really based on getting rid of that disease, so that for as long as you live, however long that is, you will live to your best. I don't know, I can't remember the figures, but I think now about most of us have the last 10 years of our lives with some form of problem, with some form of serious health illness that takes away from our enjoyment of life. However, the thing which fascinates me, this stuff that I was asking him about, $500 for the kit, and then if you bought the full program of supplements as a result of that, you got the kit for half price. So guess how much the supplements cost? And then at the end of that, the only way you know if you've actually lowered your biological age is to have another test done. So imagine the money that's in this. There's going to be a huge amount of pressure on people in the next few years to go and spend all this money. The trouble is, a lot of people haven't got the money to spend on that. And a lot of the stuff that's being looked at is going to be hugely expensive. But all these, and I've just read 5 of the books by these that have been written in the last 2 years about the research that's been done. I've got another 2 to go, and this one I saw today is another one. So I'm going to have another whole lot I've got to keep reading. Luckily, they're all saying similar stuff, which is really useful for me because, you know, you can get a bit bored with it. And all the biogerontologists are referring to exactly the same lifestyle habits that will extend your life and improve your health. At the end of their books, they say, until we can do all this genetic engineering and gene splicing, you know, additional pills that will help you do this, here are the things I would do to keep yourself younger. Okay, lifestyle habits are free, everybody. You know, and lifestyle habits, they admit, extend life and improve health. Me, I'm quite happy to go with the lifestyle habits. The biological intervention will inevitably be for the wealthy. And if you're extremely wealthy, I'm sure a lot of those people will choose to go and take the drugs that are in development at the moment, and they will do the gene splicing, they'll have the genes added in, they'll have the genes blocked and so on. Personally, that worries me a little bit. And I think I'm just as happy to use those 5 points, which are really the ones that are recommended in the by the biogerontologists. So it's a good form of reinforcement for what I'm saying, for me anyway. But that's all I'm going to talk, because I'm probably talk to you for ages now. So I do talk a lot when I'm interested in something. So look, I'm really happy to answer questions. Please have the PowerPoint, and if you want to contact me afterwards and talk about any aspect of that, please do.
I have a question.
Sure.
It's Anne-Marie here. Could you just briefly explain how much progress you made from your operation and what brain function you lost as to how much you've gained? We can see where you are.
Yeah.
Where did you come from that?
Me personally?
Yes.
So that picture initially with the hole.
Yep.
Yeah. When I started off, I was a little bit naive, and I looked at that and thought, I'm going to fill that hole in. I'm going to build my brain to fill it in. No, it looks exactly like that. In fact, in October, I'm due to go. I have 2 yearly brain scan, MRI scans, because they keep an eye on it, because I've still got a bit of brain tumor in there and it's growing. So they have to keep an eye on it. It doesn't look any different. There's a little bit of white matter around there. But what I've done is to wire around the hole. All right. So the way your brain works, it's got a number of brain cells, but each of the brain cells is capable of making thousands and tens of thousands of connections to other brain cells. And what happens when you wire your brain, that's why I call myself a wiring warrior, is that you actually use your existing, albeit fewer, brain cells to create more connections. And if you know somebody who's had a stroke, for instance, they may have struggled with aphasia, which is the inability to speak. Your brain, if you work at it, it's remarkable, it will actually create more connections around the damage in order to help your brain to deal with it. So that's really, so you wouldn't see any difference if I showed you my scan for October this year. It wouldn't look, it'd look a bit different. It's got a bit round the edges, but it's not, that's not what it is now. I understand that. But in terms of how am I? You know, I reckon my brain's okay. It sort of runs away a bit sometimes, but.
Janis, I have a question, I have a point to make. We have a member of our club who's in his 90s,
Yeah.
And I think he's found a new way of extending his age and activity. I mean, he goes blackberry picking and does all these things like white baiting and things like that. He's found that a single malt before Rotary meetings has extended his age. I just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
So I missed that last bit. Was it?
A single malt has helped him.
A single malt? A whiskey?
You may want to change your model.
You notice that I don't say don't drink, but you've got to be careful how much you do drink. And I haven't talked about it, but there are, if you know somebody in their 90s, they could be a super ager. And there isn't a category of people who are what we call super agers, and they probably less than 1% of the population, but they're out there. And the really annoying thing for the rest of us is they can actually do almost anything they like and they still grow older because they seem to have some sort of protective genes that actually, so there are some people, for instance, who live to be over 100 and they've smoked all their lives. And yet we know smoking, for most of us, smoking would kill us, but not for a superager. A superager genes will compensate for that. So it's a little bit strange. So you would have to know whether he was a superager before I could answer that. I will not say that drinking is good for aging, but I won't say
I think it's his wife.
It's his wife. Okay.
Pat, you might like to say something. We've got Pat's on our call. The 90-year-old.
You've got, sorry, say it again.
Our superager is on the call tonight.
Oh, right.
You're on mute, Pat.
Say anything, Pat.
So who's the 90-year-old?
Hey,
Wave your hand. There you go.
yeah. Except I'm above you, Richard, but I can't. My screen looks like a checkerboard. So
Yeah, it's difficult
maybe
to
that's
see.
the eternal section of my brain. Could be. That could be. That's what you're looking at.
Well, it's interesting because Pat, you don't look 90, and I would say there's a possibility that you're a superager because one of the things that happens, what you notice with superagers is that they actually also physically look about 20 years younger than they are. So you can usually tell by looking at them. They don't look decrepit and you know, so you could be a superager.
I don't think so. I think it's a case of keeping your sense of humour. And you want a philosophy? I'll give you a philosophy, which was given to me by my father. He was looking out to sea about 2 days before he died. And he said, you know, I'd like to think I might have done a little bit of good in my life, but I certainly have done nobody any great harm. And that's my philosophy, for better or for worse.
Yeah. And that's why I think that spiritual one is really important. The idea of being altruistic, of giving back. And it's immensely important. And people, you know, and you go to the Neurological Foundation, I used to do a lot of work with them. They do all the physical stuff, but they don't have that one point, which is so important, which is we all need to feel that we're giving back, that we're useful, that we're helping in some way. And so that's really good. Well, how old was your father when he died, Pat?
Sorry?
How old was your father when he died?
My father, well, he was one of the Irish, of course, got taken at 16 for the First World War. He survived that with shell shock and gas, and he lived till 82.
Well, that's pretty good for that.